have not been able to join us today that did RSVP. So welcome to PowerHouse Smart's education session. It's Thursday, almost the weekend, almost the 4th of July. So happy to see all your smiling faces. Good to see you. Love your backdrops. We have a very powerful session with Garren Hatley from Lutron, and he's going to be talking about Ketra and filling us with excellent information that we all need for our projects. I might be allowing other people to join on, so we're not going to have an opportunity to do a whole lot of networking today, but go to the PowerHouse Smart website, because in 2 weeks we're having speed networking with a unique twist. So it's going to be kind of like cocktail networking, where each one of you are going to prepare your legacy project story and have at least 3 to 5 slides or pictures to show. So that's coming up. Go to the PowerHouse Smart website. That's in July. And then, of course, we have our virtual hard hat tour. I know, yeah, Al's going to be having a project in the hard hat tour on July 22nd. I hope we hear from some other people for future hard hat tours. So without further ado, this is recorded. I'm going to just remind you that if you want to go to the 3 little dots up in the corner where Garren Hatley's picture is, and you hit pin, you would pin him and he would be the center focus, and all the rest of us will be little people surrounding him, kind of cheering. So I'm going to do that now, and I'm going to pin you and make you my big screen there, Garren. And Garren, please introduce yourself. Tell us about what we're going to learn today.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I can go ahead and share my screen.
Yes, please do.
Perfect. I don't want you guys to have to look at my face for too long, especially if you pinned it up there. So, all right. Can you guys see my screen?
We can. Excellent.
All right. So hello, everyone. I'm Garren Hatley. I am, as Wendy said, pretty new to the Chicago area. So I think I mentioned in a networking event earlier, like a month or 2 ago, if you have Chicago area restaurant recommendations, I am a foodie, so send them to me and I will put them on my list. But yeah, otherwise I work for Lutron. We are the controls, the shades, and now the fixture company. So we do kind of all things lighting and lighting control. And without further ado, I think we'll just jump into the presentation on our relatively new line Ketra. So I say relatively new. It is not very new at all. It has over 3 million square feet installed throughout kind of the world, over 1,300 projects. It is tested, and that's why we say that. It is widely tested. And it was established in 2009 around the Austin, Texas area. So I think it's important to note, because Austin, Texas is kind of known for its tech ability and its tech background. And Ketra is just that. They're a very tech-driven company, and they're great at that. And so we purchased them in 2018, and ever since then we've been integrating them with our controls and a lot of things that we do really well, and kind of taking some of the things that they do really well and meshing them into one. So you can see right there some of our customers. This is going to be a very, we're going to look at some of the projects that we have done and some of our customers in depth. So we'll dive into some of those a little bit later. But a little bit more about Ketra. I mentioned that it's a very tech-driven company. There are over 70 individual patents just in a Ketra lamp. So, I mean, the lamp is a very typical lamp, about that big. There are a lot of other form factors, but that's just to say there's so much technology in that small form factor, right? And we'll dive into like what that does exactly. But over 70 patents on everything from control algorithms to the calibration into the lighting control interaction. And it's kind of been rewarded for that. It's been recognized for that excellence by a lot of those awards you see there, and a lot of those partnerships we have. And that's just kind of like a quick little background on Ketra. But if you don't know, Lutron started in 1961. Our founder, Joel Spira, was something of a genius. This dimmer is in the Smithsonian right now, so I think you can be considered to have done something right if one of your products ends up in the Smithsonian. I personally have nothing in the Smithsonian, so I'm still working on it. But Lutron does, so we kind of started out with that. And our first goal with that dimmer was to create a mood and to set a scene in a space. And that's why we have this marketing ad right here to the right. It's exquisite lighting mood. We want to be able to change a space to how you desire it, whether that be to make it a little bit more relaxing or romantic or energetic, to give you more control over the lighting in that space. And that same idea is kind of proliferated with Ketra today. And that kind of starts with the quality of light, a very high quality of light, the ability to be a very natural light. And like Wendy mentioned, that's a big topic nowadays, that natural light. And we'll touch on what that means in a second here. But with that, the goal being a connection to the outdoors and kind of that very human nature to get us closer to the outdoors that we kind of know and love. But we'll be diving into a few random specifics here, and like I said, some case studies. But I mentioned natural light. It's important to kind of know what that means, and especially if a client's asking for a light source, a light fixture that can mimic daylight or is a very natural light. Maybe you've heard the term circadian rhythm before. So what sunlight does and what sunlight kind of looks like is, if you look at it on a color space like we have here, the sunlight throughout the day is going to emit white light along this black body curve, is what it's called. You can see it right there. Let's see if I can show you my little mouse right here. You can see the white light, the black body curve right there throughout the color space. That's what the sunlight essentially emits. It's very natural light. And Ketra has the ability to match that perfectly. So throughout the day, Ketra can go from a very warm sunset red light to a high noon white light, kind of very energizing. And it can do all that with the same downlight, the same fixture, the same lamp even. So it's very natural feeling, kind of reminds us of incandescent, and also is able to mimic that outdoor space. Here's a little picture of that natural daylight show. Like I mentioned, it can go from shifting in color temperature from like a warm sunrise to that midday cool, more commercial, if you're speccing lights, that very white light, to sunset where it's kind of relaxing and very red, some yellow tones in there as well. Sadly, Zoom is not great at showing videos that you display on your device, so we'll have to do with some still side by side, but here's what we're talking about. And I would encourage you, we have a lot of dealers in Chicago area that have this installed in the space. So if you want to see what this looks like in person, reach out to me and I can kind of connect you to someone who can do that. But here's a still of what we're talking about. This is Ketra in an apartment. Looks like pretty standard light here, right? Someone's getting ready for their day. They got their laptop out. Maybe this is midday or mid-afternoon. The lights changed a little bit, and Ketra matches that light that's coming through the window. Now here you can see it's kind of more towards nighttime. We got a glass of wine out there. We've got very redder tones, yellow tones, and the sun's starting to set. It's kind of towards dusk, and then towards the end of the night, the same light source can do this color as well, so that the same space becomes so much more dynamic under Ketra. Now, an example, like I said, we're going to go through some case studies. An example of one of these case studies is RGA's office. So they're a marketing firm. Their main office in New York City, they did a poll with their employees, like a good company should. They reached out and said, hey, what do you guys want to see in our new office? What's something you want to see as we are developing our business? They gave them a few options. One was like more vacation time, salary increase. And then another option was, do you want a seat by a window? Do you want to have kind of sunlight in your desk? And I think something like 90+% of their employees asked for a seat by the window. Now, I am no architect, but I think that's impossible to do in any sizable space. And they realized that as well. I mean, it was a huge building, it's 200,000 square feet. So their solution was to put Ketra all in the space, as you can see here, point it upwards, make it feel like everyone in the office is right beside a window.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And again, that's one of those things that's very experiential, and lighting is very experiential. So would totally recommend you to get somewhere where you can experience that. If you're in Dallas, you could experience it at this restaurant. I'm not sure if they're open right now, so don't quote me on that, but because of COVID. But they used it because they wanted to change the light throughout the day. So as kind of lunchtime rolls past and dinner time comes around, they want to warm up the space, dim the lights very well. Ketra can dim down to 0.1%, so it's incredibly good at dimming. but also have a control over the kitchen lights. So you can see there if you look into the kitchen, the lights are wider than they are at the tables. They are very cool, very energizing, and very bright. So that same light source will flow into the table space and becomes a lot dimmer, yes, but also warmer in tones and changing along that black body curve to kind of match that sunlight. So that is part of the Ketra difference. Another big part that's really cool is what is called vibrancy, and this is something that is patented by Ketra and by us. And vibrancy is essentially manipulating the wavelengths of light to bring out certain colors in space. So that's all it is. If you want a scientific explanation, you can kind of look down at those charts right there of what's exactly happening. But really look at the apple and the orange in the left picture as compared to the right picture. There's no filters over this. This is just a picture, and then the lights are changing. So if you want to think about it, the lights are providing that kind of layer of control. So again, don't have a video that will play really well through Zoom, and wanted to give you a good experience. So here's two stills of all we're changing is the lights in the space.
Wow.
So this is in our Ketra office in Austin. They have a very bright wall just for this purpose. So I'll go back. This is kind of standard LEDs. And when you throw on vibrancy, you can bring out, maybe you want to bring out the reds in that cityscape, or bring out some of the purples, the greens, even make things pop better. It's really up to you about what you want to bring out and what you want to emphasize. Now, another case study, this was done in Whole Foods in New York, and they wanted to emphasize some of the fruit in their space. So they're a retailer that found this was incredibly valuable to making the fruit look better and making those colors pop a little bit more. The next thing we'll talk about is what we call TruBeam, which is basically Ketra's patented ability to display a light on a wall, wash a wall very evenly, very smoothly, and avoid scalloping you may have seen. If you point a typical fixture down a wall, you might see some breakup as the fixture washes that wall on light. Ketra has a lot of technology behind it that makes sure it doesn't do this, and that is one of the reasons why it was chosen for a couple areas in the Art Institute of Chicago. So right near us, it's an awesome example of what Ketra can do. They chose this to wash the wall, wash some of the exhibits, and also because Ketra is digitally addressable. So what that means is that you can wire in two lamps right beside each other, wire them hot on typically what would be the same circuit. So same light switch right there. And you can take your programming and program them to be two different circuits. So you can change their circuitry around via digitally. So you don't have to change anything physically. You don't have to come pull wire. You don't have to move around that circuit at all. So for a museum or for a homeowner who isn't quite sure what they want, or maybe they're constantly changing like exhibits do in museums, Ketra has its benefit because you put it into the space, and then if you decide you want to change around the zones later, if you want to change around the circuits later, you can do that digitally with just an app and an iPad. So they found a lot of value at the Art Institute of Chicago for that. Another key differentiator for Ketra is its ability to not only do natural light and natural sunlight and be able to match that throughout the entire day, but also to do any color you really want. So maybe you want to throw some color into your space for a party. Maybe you're having a sports party and you want to wash your space with that Cubs color that you love, go Chicago Cubs. Anyway, yes, you can do that as well. 16.7 million colors are available. And really at that point, you can just choose exactly what you want, match things exactly. I've heard of customers finding the exact color for their sports team and throwing that on a button in their space. So when they have Sunday morning rolls around, maybe they're watching NFL, they can just click one button and it turns into their sports room. You can do that, and as well, it, like I said, does dim down to 0.1%, which is kind of industry leading. If Here's an example of that ability to change color and just kind of be the most dynamic light. So pretty fun, pretty cool piece of technology. And one way that this was used was at a fitness center in New York. They took the lights and programmed to change every 13 minutes to shift from blue during the warm-up to red when they were running a more intense workout, and then purple for the cool down. So they were able to change the whole feel of the space. Some automatic programming was able to do that, and also give some cues to the people working out to say, oh, hey, I get to cool down now. Or the warm-up is over. So really the possibilities are, again, endless here. Now, the last thing I want to really cover is something that Ketra approaches that is a problem with a lot of LEDs. So if you've worked with lights before, you know LEDs have a couple of different things that are annoying about them and need to be addressed. And one of which is when they are created, one manufacturer could create two lamps side by side, same batch and everything, put them in store right beside each other, and they will look like different colors. So they might put out a more yellow tone or a more white tone. And the way Ketra avoids this is by measuring its own color output 360 times per second. So it does that, and then it will tell each light source of which digitally addressed circuit it's in. This is where you need to be at, and 360 times per second, they will adjust and make it to where it's exactly the light that you spec or exactly the light source that you want. You may have also seen, I know I've seen before, if you are changing out just one lamp in a space, you may go in and put in a new LED right next to all the old LEDs in the space, and that new LED will look maybe brighter or more white, more yellow, depending on what you bought, as opposed to all the other lights in that space. So Ketra avoids that problem with color lock as well. So say you have a child that accidentally breaks a Ketra lamp, then you can go right in, install a new one, and it will calibrate itself to match everything else exactly. So really giving you more out of your LEDs and more out of that lifespan, which I think is incredibly important because LEDs are, they have a great longevity, right? They're able to last 50,000 plus hours. So at 8 hours a day, that's something like 18 years is what you're going to get out of a light source. So you want to make sure that you're future-proofing yourself, your jobs, and your clients' jobs to the best of the best and to ease in the future. This slide is just showing that all Ketra lamps and fixtures are tested before they leave our factory for that self-monitoring ability and that auto-correcting ability. But we end up line test 100% of our products. And with Lutron, you get a fully integrated solution. So we talked about early on the background of Lutron being that dimming company. We still are for sure. We are that controls company, but also we do some drivers nowadays as well. And with Ketra and a few of our other lines, we do fixtures. So when you pair our fixtures with our control system, you know you've got one system that you can count on that talks natively to each other. It's going to be less complicated for that system. It's going to be more seamless, and it's going to integrate better. So less issues for you. So I've talked a lot about the lamp, but here are some of our other options we have, kind of more residentially focused. We have some track lighting, some linears, a couple power lamps there, a very traditional A20 lamp that you might throw in just like a table side lamp, and then some downlights as well that are incredibly small and can go in the ceiling in a very relatively shallow ceiling mount. So those are a few of the Ketra differences. A couple of those things. Like I said, this is a really, really technologically advanced fixture and lamp. And you can see that in this picture here. There's so much jam-packed into one lamp, for example. Over 70 patents right there. And all of that with the goal to do everything we talked about today, to give you that vibrancy and that control over your space, to give you an incredibly high quality of light that can also match daylight throughout the day. And it's also digitally addressed. If you want to change that later on, then you can do that. So that is Ketra. Like I said, light is such an experiential thing. Would love to just connect you with someone who has a showroom here in Chicago. If you happen to not be in Chicago, we can connect you with someone who has a showroom somewhere else. So get with me and I can kind of point you in the right direction. We also do have some demos, but I'm a big fan of seeing a space where everything is controlled by Ketra to really see what it can do. And that being said, I think we might have even been under 20 minutes there, Wendy. So
that was great.
Yeah.
That was great, Karen. So, can you stop sharing your screen, and then I'm going to get some questions, some Q&A, because I actually put in the first question in the chat, which was, how does this compare in cost?
Okay, so cost-wise, it is on the higher end, but what's interesting is because it's digitally addressable, if you run the entire job of running light sources and home running circuitry, then we have run the cost analysis on certain jobs, and it's comparable, if not slightly less expensive. So, yeah, the fixtures are high end for sure, and then when you compare all of what it can do, it ends up being pretty reasonable. And I see Yale asks, is it easy to install in older spaces? It's actually a great retrofit solution, Yale, because it is wirelessly communicated. So if you install a lamp in an existing space, you can communicate to that lamp wirelessly. You don't have to run any separate wires. You don't have to run any communication wires. And it can all connect back to essentially a small little computer that controls it to give you that control and set you up if you want to set up a zone, if you want to set up some of the vibrancy features and whatnot. Good question, though.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, I have a lot of those spaces where I hang a lot of art, and then, you know, what you just showed is incredible because some people buy a certain piece of art for that special color that will pop up. So this solves a lot of issues, and especially if it's so easy to install because of, you know, difficulty opening walls and things like that in an older home, then it definitely solves a lot of problems. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it looks like an incredible project. Garren, were you on the hard hat tour that Michael Freiberger did last week and see?
Yes.
Those breakout rooms, those homework rooms all had different colors. How did he use Ketra?
I don't believe he did. I forget exactly how he said he did that. But I do remember the exact rooms you're talking about there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Really cool.
Yeah, that's a good example because I know he had those rooms that were singular and then they also turned into one giant room. So if you wanted to make that a little bit more modular, then Ketra would be a good application for that as well, yeah.
Exactly. Let's see. So Jason asked, are there recessed fixtures?
Yes. So we do have what we call a D3 downlight. It's a recessed fixture. Can be mudded in, has a lot of different optic options. Jason, if you'd like, I can actually send you some more information on that. The thumbs up, thumbs down.
Oh, he's going to unmute.
Thumbs up.
Unmute, Jason. Did you have a certain?
Yeah, that'd be great. I got a couple other questions here that I had written down,
Sure.
specifically about the color changing feature and how that's technically controlled. Is there a separate Ketra controller that works with the homework system, or do you need a DMX or a Dolly controller to do all that color change?
So you do not need a DMX or Dolly controller. That's a good question. It is integrated fully with Homeworks.
So all that color changing programming is done within the Homeworks software, and you can apply that to any keypad button or phantom keypad for controlling a control.
Yes,
okay.
That is the new Homeworks. If you're, Jason, you might be pretty familiar because you're the smart home guy. The new Homeworks QSX, which came out about a month ago, it is fully integrated. So like I said, we purchased Ketra late 2018, and then we have, as of now, fully integrated it into our residential and commercial systems. So our newest residential system, it is, yes.
Great.
What about older versions of Homeworks like QS or even Illumination?
So with QS, it's just one simple little add-on. There's a separate Ketra program that you would import into the Homeworks QS software. And then there is just one piece of hardware you add on to the QS. So it's still pretty simple. I mean, that's what most of the showrooms and everything is installed as, is the QS software, because QSX is so new. But Illuminations is a whole other game. If you're pretty interested in that, then let me know. We can talk about it.
Okay. And is it still only available to control in Homeworks as opposed to Radio Raw as well?
Yes. Just Homeworks right now. Yeah.
So those are our techies there, sharing some of their insight back and forth. Any questions from anyone else? We're just approaching our half an hour, and I love seeing your faces, guys. I love seeing your background. Good to see you. Terry, Tom, Susan, Yael, Aaron, and Christopher, and Garren. That was great. It was really short, but I really walked away going with, I have some beautiful artwork in my home. I'd like to get some of Yael's artwork in my home, but definitely needs to be lit properly, because what a difference when you looked at that Art Institute application. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to talk. Feel free to reach out. Like I said, we can get you to see it in person as things start to open up a little bit more. And yeah, appreciate it.
Sounds great. Great. Thanks, guys. If you, I'm going to send a thank you email out, and I'll put Garren's information on there if you want to reach out to him directly. Of course, like I said, next time you see him face to face, he's a foodie, so we gotta feed him. Okay. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Enjoy this beautiful weather. Don't forget to go and log in to sign up for speed networking and all the other stuff happening in July. Good to see you all. Take care. Be safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.